Hi, welcome to another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl and I'm in charge of the craft kits at the main library. And today's video is to accompany a kit that we'll be giving out starting April 15th, 2024. But if you don't live anywhere near the library or you're watching this later on our YouTube channel, don't worry, I'll tell you everything you need to make this craft. And what we're making today is we are going to learn cardboard loom weaving. And that is actually weaving with a piece of cardboard instead of a loom. So if you want to know if you want to try out weaving and you're not sure if you are going to like it and you want to get started really cheaply, this is a great starting project to figure out if you're going to like it. Now, what we're making is this little weaving here, which you can use these as, you can't use them as pot holders. You don't want to pick up anything very hot with them because they are, it's an acrylic yarn. It's not a natural fiber, so you don't want to use these on hot pots. But what you can do is you can use them as hot pot trivets. So if you've got like a bowl of something hot to put on your table, you can set it down on here. You can use this as a little wall decoration. If you're into miniatures, you can use it as a rug in your dollhouse. You can use these as coasters if you weave them flat enough. But it's just to check and see whether or not you like weaving, and if you want to learn, this is how you get started. So what you'll have in a kit, or what you'll need to prep if you don't have the kit, is the first thing is this piece of cardboard that is set up as a loom. Now I have made regular cuts in here that we're going to use to put the yarn into to hold it in place. And I have put start over and under and start under and end over. This is just a reminder to myself as how I'm going to be doing this. And this is because I have an odd number of slits that it's going to end up like that. But it's just a reminder to myself whether I should start under or over. And the size that I have made this is 8.5 by 6.5. But you're welcome to make it whatever size you want. And as for the yarn, you will have one piece of yarn that's in a ball like this, and this is going to be about 32 feet of yarn, and that's the one that we're going to use, and we're going to wrap it around and around and hold it in the little slots so that we can then weave in and out. Those wrapped around yarns, those are going to be called the warp yarns, and that's what that's for. You will also have some, let's get this on a dark background so you can see them. You will also have some of the yarns that you're going to be weaving with. Now, you can, if you're purchasing your own materials, you can just take balls of yarn like this and a long, like plastic needle or something, and weave it in and out with the needle. But because we don't have needles, I have prepped these that we are going to use to weave the yarn in and out, so you don't need a needle. And how I prepped these was I cut poster board like I'm using for the background here. See, I cut this in 8 inches by 3/4 of an inch, and then I just took my scissors and I made a long rounded tip on it like that. And then I took my yarn and I taped it toward the back here, and then I wrapped it around and around in an even layer. And I wrapped it down to about here, and then wrapped back up, and then down to here, and wrapped back up and down to here, so that I got a nice little weaving shuttle here. And I have written down how much I put on each one. You don't want to put too much on each one because you don't want to get this too thick, or else it will have a hard time getting the big fat ball of yarn through the warp yarn. So I have limited it to I have a 4-foot yardstick, a 4-foot ruler, and I wrapped it around 4 times for this one. So this one is 16 foot. These are each 16 foot. This is 24 foot, and this is 24 foot. So you should have a few of these. You'll have at least, you'll have one that matches the background color of the warp yarns, and you'll have a couple of accent colors. Now, these warp yarns that we're going to be wrapping around here will actually not show except on the fringe at the ends. The rest of it's going to be covered up. But I like to start and end with one of these that matches the background color, just so that I can have a nice little ending that looks coordinated. You will need a pair of scissors to cut the yarn pieces. Okay, so that's what's going to be in your kit. Now, if you're making this yourself at home, you will want a piece of stiff cardboard. What size is up to you, but you don't want to get it too big and wide. You want to start out small. And you want to do it nice and evenly. Now, if you have the kind of cardboard that you can actually see the little ridges, you can just draw lines there, but I don't see the ridges here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where my slots should be. And so my slots need to be lined up at the top and bottom so that when I wrap it around, they're going to be straight. So I'm going to start with a fairly straight side here, and I'm going to mark just about 1/4 of an inch off the top and the bottom. This gives me a little marking so that I don't cut too deep, and so that I can make the cuts pretty close to the same size. So now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to start and make a mark about 1/2 inch in on this side, and I'm going to make a little arrow there so that I know I'm going to start measuring from that side. And now I'm going to make a mark about every 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to stop about 1/2 inch from this side. I like to have a nice sturdy edge where there's no slits. Now, you might think, oh, I'll turn this around and do the same thing. Well, no, you don't want to do that, because this edge might not be straight, and I want to make sure this lines up with this edge. So I'm actually going to start, that's why I made the arrow. I started measuring on that end, so I'm just going to slide this down, and I'm going to line up my thing, and then I'm going to start here at 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to mark every 1/4 of an inch here. That way I can guarantee that my lines are lined up evenly from this edge. Now I need to make sure I have one straight edge though to do this at. Then I'm going to go through and I am going to cut down to that line, all the way across, and all of these too. And that's how I prepped the pieces of cardboard. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start prepping the loom for weaving. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to start on this back side, and I'm going to give it a good long tail. And I am going to put it down in that slot. See, the first slot. Now I can flip it back over, and I'm going to just go down. Now you want these to be, you don't want to pull too super tight, but you want them to be snug. You don't want them to be too loose so that they stay straight. Okay, so now you can see they are very straight and parallel. That's why we started measuring from the same side and moved over so that they would all be even. And it's resulted in the nice straight lines. Okay, so we're going to flip this back over on the other side, and I've got a little bit extra, so I'm going to cut off a little bit extra so I have a big tail here. And I am going to tie this, I'm going to tie this in a little bow because we're going to be undoing this after we're done. All right, so there our loom is prepped and ready to be used. So now I like to start, as I said, I like to start with the color that matches the background because I like to have the ends here. And you do not have enough of any one color to do the entire thing. So you're going to be alternating colors. So I'm going to pull off a little bit, about that much, and I am going to start on the underside where it says start under. I like to start under on my right hand side. That's just my personal preference. And you're going to go, and I'm going to go under, skip, under, skip, under, skip, under, skip. And I'm going to do that all the way across. Under, skip, under, skip. And you might have to put your, bring these up here. Skip, under, skip, under. And if you have a little trouble with this, you can actually even kind of lift one edge. And when I get a few, I probably should have only done like 3. I'm going to do it like this. Now leave a tail when you start. Okay, and I did under this one, so I'm going to skip the next one. Under, skip, and I tend to pull this side up so that I can reach under, and it's easier for me to kind of just weave in and out. Skip. All right, and I did under this one, so I'm going to skip this one. Under, skip, under. All right, now I'm going to just take my fingernails and just gently push this down to the bottom. Now, I have gone on this side, I have gone under this one. And following my pattern, under, skip, under, skip, under, skip, I went under this one, so when I'm going back the other way, I'm going to skip it. So I'm skipping that one and going under this one. Skipping this one, under this one. I did under this one, so I'm going to skip this one, under, skip, under, skip, under. I did under this one, so I'm going to skip the next one. What? Under that one, skip, under, skip, under, skip, under. I just did under this one, so I'm going to skip that one, under, and then skip. Okay, now when you're going on your second row, you're going to hold this out a little bit and just gently pull that. I like to hold that out there so that I don't pull too tightly. And don't pull it really tightly like that. That's too much. You're gonna find you're pulling your edges in. Hold it out there and just gently pull until it touches the thing, and then let go, and then gently push it down. And you will notice that by doing the under skip, or other people call it under, over, you are alternating. So on this row, the first one I skipped it and went over it, and then the second row I went under it. So you're going to be alternating. This is why I wrote this down for myself to remember to always start here, and when over on this side I'm going to go over on starting on this side, so that you can always remember which ones you're doing. Now I'm going to repeat this process back and forth for a little while. I like to have like, half an inch to an inch or so on the ends, but that is strictly a matter of personal preference. You can make your rows as fat or as skinny as you want. Just be aware that you may, if you're going to be, if you want it to be symmetrical, you have to plan that out. So it's easier for me to just, figure out how many inches I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and we're starting under on this side. Under, skip, under, skip, under, skip. And I'm going to just do this back and forth until I get about half an inch or so. And then I'll show you how to change colors. Okay, I have done this back and forth total of 9 times. And I am going to change colors on the next one. Now you don't want to change colors at the end, because then you'll have knots on the sides. We are going to change colors in the middle, and we are actually working from the back. What we're working on now is going to be the back. We're weaving it like this, and so you can see I have changed colors and my knots are here, and then when we cut it off the loom, we're going to flip it over so we see the nice pretty side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave it so that it's somewhere in the middle, or at least a few ones in. So I went under, so I'm going to go over, under, skip, under, skip, under. Let's stop here. So let me get this. Okay. Now I am going to cut off this and leave a little tail. And now I'm going to decide what other yarn I'm going to do next. I think I'm going to do the fuzzy yarn next. So I am going to tie this in a knot. So I'm going to take it down right over there, and I'm going to tie this in like a little square knot. Now I'm just going to continue on with my pattern. I went under this one, so I'm going to skip, and you are going to want to keep that knot on the back here and not pull it under, at least if you can. All right, so now I'm going to just continue on back and forth, keeping that same pattern until I get up to, until I get close to the end. When you get close up to the top, you're not going to be weaving right up to the very edge, because it's going to be, you can't get this in and all the way up to the edge. You're going to be stopping the weaving about 1/2 inch from the edge. So if you're doing a particular pattern, just be aware of that your weaving is going to stop right about here, and take that into account. Okay, I'm just going to keep going back and forth and back and forth, and I'll show you how to end up once I'm finished with the weaving. Okay, I think I am actually going to stop there. I went for a symmetrical thing, and I'm just going to stop right there and be symmetrical and not try and go all the way up as far as I could. Once you get closer up here, the lines get tighter and tighter, and you can really only go up to here maximum, unless you want to get a needle, like a large darning needle or plastic needle, and take it off the strip and weave it in. But I think I'm going to stop here, and I am going to cut this, and I'm going to leave a pretty big tail just like I did when I started. All right, so it looks pretty messy on this side, but remember, this is the back. So to take it off of this, we're going to first undo this knot for the corners. Then we're going to slowly and gently cut these off, a few at a time. Now we're going to pull these out of the slots, and we're going to be very careful not to tug too hard and shift anything before we get it tied off. I have a tendency, I kind of like to do 2 at a time. So I'll just take the first 2 and pull them, next 2, pull them, just gently pull them out of the slots. And I'm holding onto this with my other hand so it's not shifting too much. I'm going to flip it around, hold it again with this hand, and just take a couple out at a time. All right. Oh, look at that. That's what it's going to look like when I'm finished. That turned out much better than I even thought. Okay, so yeah, see, if it's like this on the back, don't worry. It's going to look something like this on the front. All right, so now we're going to tie off the ends so that it won't come unwoven. I am going to start, okay, see this is the yarn that's being woven in and out and in and out. I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to start on the other side here, and I'm going to take the 2 on this side. Well, let me identify the one over here too, and it's actually there. Okay, so those are the 2 that have been woven in and out. I'm going to set those aside for a second. I'm going to start on the other end, and I'm going to take 2, and I'm just going to tie them in a knot, a square knot. And I don't want to tie it, I don't want to pull it, don't pull it too super tight here. You don't want to squish all these up. Just pull it down to the top here, and then tie the knot. And then you can tie there. Now I'm going to do that for every 2. And as we're tying the knot, it's going to lock that last woven piece down. Now, because I had an odd number of slots, that will leave me with my weft yarn, the yarn I wove in and out, and one last piece. If you made your own and you had an even number of slots, that would leave you with 3 at the end, in which case you would just grab these 2 and treat them like one, and then grab the other one and tie those like that. But we used an odd number, so we have these two left. And I'm going to tie an extra knot on that last one because that's the weaving yarn. Okay. All right. And I can leave this long or I can trim it off shorter. Now, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other end, but of course, because the weaving is on this end, we're going to start here and work our way across. Okay. Now I can also take these little tails that I left kind of long, and I can trim them off just a little bit so that they don't come over and hang over the side. I don't like trimming them down too close to the knot because I'm always afraid the knot's going to come undone if I trim too close to it. And there is my finished weaving. And as I said, you can use these as trivets to put a hot bowl onto. You can use these as coasters, or you can just have a cute little thing. You can even, if you have a bunch of them and you just keep going and going, you can actually take these and use yarn or thread and sew them together so that you can make placemats. Or you can start with a bigger piece of cardboard and make a placemat in the same manner. It all depends on what size cardboard you start with and how much yarn you have. Okay, and that's it. So thank you for viewing another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'll see you next time. Bye.